Hello, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Even though I don't know you're here yet, there's always a delay with these YouTube live things, even though I get your
Hello, everybody.
comments in real time. I just heard my voice echoing really loudly. I just had to push the pause button on that. So I don't know if anybody's here yet, which is often the case when we do these YouTube live things. I keep hoping that the YouTube powers that be will watch these videos and get an idea that if there's any way you can fix this lag when we're live, it would be really, really excellent. So just to give an idea, and I will likely repeat this a couple of times over the course of this, which is what the purpose of these live astrology question and answer sessions are for me to answer any questions you may have about astrology in general. I'm not here so much to interpret your horoscope for you. I'll tell you why I'm not a big fan of that approach, and there's several reasons. Number one, without your full horoscope in front of me, it's very difficult for me to do that. Okay. And in addition to that, with your whole full horoscope in front of me, when I do horoscope interpretation, I often use several different techniques because I want to make sure that what I'm saying about your personal horoscope is very accurate, right? So I don't have ample time to do that in these live videos. So those are the two main reasons. The third reason is I'm a professional astrologer. I do this for a living. So it's yeah, those are the three reasons I don't do that. But any specific questions you may have about astrology in general, how things work, I will endeavor to answer to the utmost of my capacity. And I say that because, hey, different astrologers use different techniques. So feel free to ask anything that you want to ask. Does K2 sitting with any planet is bad? How to understand that? Okay. If you've watched my live videos before, you will often understand that I'm not a big fan of the words bad and good in relation to astrology, because where the planets are in your personal horoscope, they are there for a reason to achieve a specific purpose, to further your evolution. So when it boils down to that, ultimately, there can never be a bad with your personal horoscope. It's all for your betterment. Difficult or a state of ease, now those are two different things. What K2 does is it has a tendency to suppress the areas of the chart that it's coming into contact with. K2 simultaneously gives liberation, but it will do so first through suppressing you exploring the very areas that you need to explore in order to bring about your liberation. That's why K2 and Rahu always work in tandem with each other. K2 needs Rahu to pull you out of your comfort zone and make you explore all those things which are unfamiliar to you, which you need in order to evolve further. Then it brings those specific experiences back to K2 in order for you to integrate it, become more familiar with it, more comfortable with it, in order to eventually provide you with the liberation that you need. Okay, so that's the easiest way to answer that particular question. So please feel free to post any other questions you may have about astrology. As people are now beginning to arrive, I thought I would mention to everybody that is here that I am offering a special discount on all astrological services, a 10% discount on all astrological services until about 10 or 10:30 p.m. London time tonight. That's about 3 hours from now, so you have ample time to book. If you want to book, you need to go to my services page, which I'm going to type into the chat window here. And when you go to make your booking, you need to enter the discount code, which is all uppercase letters mid-May. And that includes all astrological services, including the coaching packages. In addition to that, I have a brand new consultation, which is the full nakshatra analysis, in which I will go over every planet in your horoscope, the nakshatras that it's in, the subtle interplay between that planet and that nakshatra and the other planets who influence it through nakshatra dispositorship, etc. Looking at things like Digbala, the Avastas in your chart, in order to understand the interplay in a very unique manner with the nakshatras in your horoscope. Because, hey, people can have planets in similar nakshatras and it can all be vastly different. Okay. And so that's why I'm giving you that deep explanation with it. But that's part of the astrological services that I offer on my services page. And again, there's a discount. The link is in the comments section over to the right. And there is a discount code there as well, mid-May, all uppercase letters. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. So somebody is typing, if I'm looking at choosing between two men, which houses or placement of planets would indicate good relationship material? Your seventh house is Capricorn with the Sun and Rahu there. Well, first of all, having the Sun and Rahu in the seventh house can make it very difficult for you to pick a path in regards to relationships, because whenever you have a Sun Rahu combination, so I'll touch on this briefly. I'm not big on answering people's astrological questions, but this is a very simple one, and so I will address this one. Basically, Rahu Sun creates a identity crisis or a lack of direction quite often. And that's because generally the individual has had some authority figure in their life who has mentioned to them the best way for them to behave in specific areas. Like if it has to do with career, this is what you're going to be when you grow up. If it has to do with relationships, this is the type of person you're going to get into a relationship with. And so the person doesn't have the capacity to identify that for themselves because it's been defined for them. So that's going to create some difficulty for you regardless of that, and some trials with that. The best thing is to not try to control it and instead to trust in your heart. In order to answer that question more specifically for you, I would need to look at your own personal horoscope. And as I mentioned, I am offering a 10% discount if you wish to schedule with me through my services page. Okay, and that's linked above. Let's see what we've got here. No, somebody's asking if you about Rashi aspects, and if you use Rashi aspects only in the birth chart or in every other Varga as well. You can use Rashi aspects in every Varga chart. Okay, so here's the thing to understand. People quite often try to use planetary aspects in the Varga charts, and that's something that doesn't really work because planetary aspects are astronomical by nature, right? And the astronomy that happens in the horoscope is all in the Rashi chart. So if you look for a planetary aspect in a Varga chart, it's only going to exist if that planetary aspect is also in the Rashi chart. But Rashi's aspects are just one Rashi influencing another. Those work in every single Varga chart, and it's a very accurate way of looking at things. So that was a very good question to ask. So somebody was mentioning about studying under me. So that was something else I wanted to talk to people tonight on a brief level. I have 3 courses that are getting ready to start, 2 in 2020 and 1 at the end of August. So why am I talking about the ones in 2020 so early? That's because these courses, these 2 courses that start in 2020, are both open to a 15% discount for you as potential students, regardless of whether you pay by trimester at $329 per trimester, discounted 15%. It would make it roughly like $250 by trimester, something like that. I don't have the calculator in front of me. So, and all future trimesters would be discounted too. So it's a rather hefty discount if you register for these 2 courses that are in 2020 between now and the 19th of June. So what are these two courses? I'm going to be starting a new Nakshatra technique course, and that begins on the 21st of March next year. But again, you can register now and you get a 15% discount. This course is only going to cover Nakshatra techniques. It's not going to go over the individual Nakshatras. I already have another course that's ongoing called the Esoteric Nakshatra Secrets that very deeply covers each single nakshatra. You can join in on that course at any time through my webinar courses page on the site. But if you're interested in the nakshatra technique course and to register, there is a 15% discount. Here's the link to the course information page. And in addition to that, here is the discount code that you will need to take advantage of the 15% discount. And I am going to get to some further questions here in a moment. Let me just get through all of this information. In addition to that, there's another course that starts the 1st of March 2020. That's level 2 of the Jayamini webinar course, right? And with this, you need to have engaged with the level 1 material. And although you might be thinking, yeah, but I haven't taken your level 1 course, don't worry about that, because the level 1 course is going to be released as a video course in either August or September, dependent upon how quickly I get it up after the course is over with. So you'll have ample time to catch up on the level 1 material before the level 2 course begins. And if you register for the level 2 course, you get an extra discount on that video course when it's available so that it can facilitate your learning experience. The Jayamini Level 2 webinar course is available at a 15% discount as well, as I was saying, and I think I already put that link in the window for you. And you just need to enter the discount code EARLYJMini. So this 15% discount code is available regardless of whether you register in full or by trimester. If you register by trimester, all future trimesters are locked in at the discount. And the last of these 3 courses, and then it's back to your questions, is on the Lajatati Avastas in Vedic astrology. The Lajatati Avastas relate to the fulfillment of the planet. Just to give you an idea of how deeply they relate to that, let's give you some names of the Lajatati Avastas. One of them is called Kshudita, which is starved Avasta. So planets in starved Avasta feel starved of what they're trying to achieve. And different planets can starve them. And the type of starvation that different planets will give a specific planet is very unique as per those particular planets, if you follow me. Another Lajatati Avasta is Lajita Avasta, which means ashamed. And so it quite literally causes shame for the planet or makes the planet feel like it's not getting what it's want if it's in starved Avasta. So we're going to go over very deeply how each planet experiences each particular Lajatati Avasta from each particular planet. We'll also learn how to work with this therapeutically. We'll also learn how to work with this predictively. And so we'll be engaging with this material on a very deep level. And this is another 44-week webinar course. Here is the link to that course. It is available at a 10% discount because it starts in August, the 25th of August of this year. And the discount code to get your 10% discount on that particular course is early, all uppercase letters. There we go. Let's see what else we've got in the questions section here. And thanks for your patience in letting me put forward that material for people. Okay. So there are certain questions that people are asking that it is not easy for me to give you a simple answer to, right? So, and I try to explain that at the outset every time I do this. So somebody, like for instance, has said Aries ascendant, 8th house Mars, Venus, Ketu, Rahu, and Taurus. How does this combination work? Really, you need to understand the subtle interplay of the Avastas as well as Shadbala in order to give accurate information in association with that. I need the entire horoscope, which is why I don't go into complex questions like that, okay? Seventh Lord Moon in Shatabisha, does that give illusion or self-created one-sided love scenario? It depends on the nature of the moon, influences to it, and where Rahu is placed, and the Deep Tadi Avastas and Baladi Avastas and Jagradati Avastas connected to Rahu's dispositor. So again, that's not another one I can give you a straightforward answer to. Okay. But if you ask, simpler questions about astrology rather than complex questions about your own particular birth chart, I can give you answers. It's just when it boils down to your own individual chart, I am prone to giving you incomplete information due to me not having your entire horoscope in front of me rather, and I can't have your entire horoscope in front of me and just attend to it because it would take all the time that I'm live, really. Okay. Let's see some other questions here. The important thing to understand about cruel planets that create yogas is they can create benefit in your horoscope, but they create benefit in a harsh manner. So there will be a challenge involved, right? When Mars is involved, Mars is always going to feel the stress, will always feel like it has to have a battle. Saturn will always have a very narrow view on a situation, which can bring a lot of discipline into the equation. But really, again, it's a matter of needing to know the house interactions, needing to know things like Ishta and Kashta of the planets, so many different things. And so giving you a simple answer to that, cruel planets, when they're involved in yogas, will produce the yoga in a cruel manner. Okay. Rahu and Ketu in a natal chart, some people judge that, some people don't, because Rahu and Ketu tend to move retrograde the majority of the time. Those moments that they're direct, it just may mean that the person's interpretation or how Rahu and Ketu play out in their horoscope is much more externally focused, but it's really kind of hard to prove that because the experience of Ketu and Rahu is very confusing in the first place, that it's hard to ascertain if that effect is actually being created by the nodes or created by something else, if you follow. Okay. Saturn in Shatabishak Nakshatra. Okay, so I will preface this by saying to you, if this is your horoscope, I am not giving you an interpretation of your horoscope. I'm just giving you Saturn in Shatabishak Nakshatra. We have to take into consideration so many different things, like where Rahu is placed, right? So don't take this information and apply it to your own horoscope because it may not be accurate. Preface? Good. Okay. So Shatabishak Nakshatra, with planets in Shatabishak Nakshatra, there can quite often be a sense of resignation, right? So people may feel that they have to do something, right? So if Saturn's your seventh house lord, you may feel resigned that your relationships are only going to be a certain way, which is naturally chaotic, dependent upon where Rahu is at, right? And because it's Saturn, Saturn's gaze is narrow and it's always looking down. So it can very much get caught up in that depressed aspect of that because there's a tamasic element to Shatabishak Nakshatra, and Saturn's a tamasic planet, so it's going to accentuate that. Okay, but once the person is committed to the fate that Saturn in Shatabishak Nakshatra is trying to bring their way, then if there's a good strong Saturn, and equally if Rahu's dispositor is strong, they can make good progress with that. Okay. Let me read some of your other questions. Again, just a quick mention, if you'd like further information on your own horoscope chart, the proper way to do that, rather than asking me here on the question and answer session, is to go to my astrological services page, where there is presently a 10% discount. until 10 p.m. Actually, I'll take it to 10:30 p.m. London time tonight, extend it a little bit. If you use the discount code, which I'm going to type in the window now, and that is on all consultations, right? So if you want to have a consultation and if you want those answers, this is the way to do it, because then I can look at your entire horoscope. Let's read some other questions after I have a drink of water. So somebody's saying many astrologers are predicting that this summer is especially dangerous for traveling in foreign lands. I happen to be doing this and I am becoming a bit unnerved. What's your view on travel June and July? My view on that is that you can't really make accurate, detailed predictions like that based on everybody's horoscope if you don't have their personal horoscope information. So, really, it's a matter of needing to have it interpreted from your own particular horoscope. That's my answer to that, because you can't make detailed interpretations about relationships in a person in everybody's life, or detailed interpretations about home in everybody's life, if you don't have their horoscope chart. You can only give general psychological energies for everybody. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. So somebody is asking a question that I don't fully understand. So I'm going to ask you for some clarification. So your question is, D9 is the subtle body, the person's consciousness. My question is, well, first of all, the D9 isn't necessarily the person's subtle body or the person's consciousness. Here's what the Navamsha chart is about. The Navamsha chart is about those things in life that you find purpose and meaning in, including if you get married and you find purpose and meaning in getting married, or whether you don't find purpose and meaning in that thing. In that, and on a certain level, it's the purposeful path that you commit to. Okay. And it can relate to any aspect of your life. You can look at relationships in the Navamsha. You can look at career in the Navamsha. But what you're looking at is whether you're finding a special sense of purpose in relation to that. Okay. So the other rest of it is, do you take calculation to the D9 or D1 for major interchanging shifts in one's personal life? Okay. So the Rashi chart and the D9 chart are two separate things. Rashi chart indicates the overall life path of the individual. Navamsha chart indicates whether or not the person's finding meaning or purpose on that life path. Every Varga chart serves a specific purpose. That's the best way to approach it, is to understand Varga charts is different areas of a person's life, right? All of the Varga charts are a division of the Rashi chart, so they're connected on one level, and the Rashi chart and Navamsha chart especially, but please try to understand two different energy tones. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. Planets, I'm sorry, Rahu and Ketu, from my opinion, are not exalted or debilitated. The rest of the planets have physical forms. You can see them in the sky. Rahu and Ketu, you only get visual representations of them when we have eclipses. So Rahu and Ketu cannot have dignity. Rahu and Ketu cannot be exalted or debilitated. Rahu and Ketu cannot create planetary aspects. They're not physical planets, okay? You have to work with them in very special ways if you want to use them accurately. Rahu and Ketu will tend to, for the most part, take on the well-being of their dispositor and any planets that they join. In addition to that, yeah, they don't have exaltation unless their dispositor is exalted. That's probably the best way to say that. That's my opinion on it. So again, 3 new courses the first 2 are open to a 15% discount if you register before the 19th of June. The first one I'm going to post in the window is my J Meany Level 2 course. I'm not going to go into further detail on this, other than to say, if you haven't taken the Level 1 course, you can take that this coming autumn. And the level 2 course doesn't happen until next year in March. So you have plenty of time to catch up on the course material. And that's why I'm offering such a hefty discount on this course, because you'd be registering really early for it, right? Okay. And you'd also get a discount on the level 1 video course when it's available. The other course is the Nakshatra Technique course, which is solely devoted to Nakshatra techniques. If you need to brush up on your nakshatras, I do have the Nakshatra Secrets webinar course that's ongoing now. You can join that at any time. But if you want to register for the Nakshatra Techniques course, I've put that link in the window, 15% discount until the 19th of June, and the course on the Lajatadi Avastas. This course is called The Fulfillment of Celestial Desires. If you'd like to learn more about how planets seek fulfillment through their houses and how they're either hindered or supported, that is the course for you. And again, the 10% discount can be had using the discount code, which I'm going to give you here. Okay, let's see what other questions we've got here. And again, please feel free to take advantage of this 10% discount, which is open until 10:30 p.m., I should say. I have to keep correcting myself. Another 3 hours on astrological services. You'll find that in the window above. Let me read your questions. I tend not to work with squares in Vedic astrology. Planets being stationary or retrograde or direct are not necessarily bad or good. A lot of it depends upon the well-being of the planet, and that has to be judged in a lot of different ways. The important thing to understand, perhaps, though, is that, sorry, I wasn't looking at the camera, I was reading people's questions. The important thing to understand, though, is that cruel planets will always behave in a cruel manner. Okay? Let's see some other questions that we have, and please feel free to bombard me with as many questions as you want, as long as they're not about your own personal horoscope, like the one I'm going to read next. The question that the person is asking about Venus in 12th house Libra, it depends on a lot of different factors, and this is why I don't do personal horoscope interpretation here, as well as the fact that I'm a professional astrologer and I just offered you a 10% discount. Okay. So in addition to that, I need to understand all the avastas connected to the planet. I need to look at Shadbala. I need to look at those planets in different areas of a person's life. And if you're asking about liberation, I need to understand a lot of things like your Shastiyamsha chart and your Vimshamsha chart. So just going with your natal chart, it's not going to give me the information that I need fully. Okay. Let's see some other questions that people might want to put in the chat window. Aspects of Rahu, what are they? Rahu and Ketu don't have planetary aspects. I was actually just saying that. Okay. Rahu and Ketu don't have planetary aspects. A lot of people like to give them 5th, 7th, and 9th house aspects, but they don't do that because they're not actual concrete planets in the sky. They're just points that create eclipses, very powerful points, I should say, right? So in terms of understanding how to work with aspects of Rahu and Ketu, you need to go back to what I was saying to somebody earlier about Rashi aspects. You can work with Rahu and Ketu with Rashi aspects because you're not looking at the planet aspecting per se. You're looking at the planet in a Rashi and that Rashi aspecting another Rashi. So Rashi aspects work with Rahu and Ketu. Okay. How is Vedic astrology different from Western astrology? Got 4 hours? Okay. In a lot of different ways, but that really boils down to the astrologer who's using it and the calculations that they're working with. Amongst many of those differences are Varga charts, working with planetary periods, or also known as Stasha systems. So many other different techniques, and it doesn't really work with squares. And you can use squares with it. Those are called the Tajika aspects. But so many differences. Nakshatras, that's another difference too. So if you watch my videos regularly, you can find out a little bit more about that. Somebody's saying, do I not believe in accuracy of mundane predictions, or is it just not your focus regarding no summer predictions overall as pertains to Saturn, Ketu, and Mars, Rahu, and sky and eclipses, etc.? Okay, so it's not that I don't believe in accuracy of mundane predictions. Mundane predictions are when you're predicting the fate of a particular country, something that's going to happen in a specific country, because you're looking at it in relation to a specific horoscope chart. Okay. Each individual has a different relationship to the planets. That's why you notice in my regular nakshatra videos, I'm just giving you general energy in relation to that that happens to be very accurate because it's related to the lunar transit and something called the Panchangam elements, right? But if you notice, I don't go into specific predictions like this is going to affect everybody's relationships. You may hear me occasionally say things about relationships, but that's because there may be a planet in Purva Falguni, which definitely has a tone of that, or things like that. And so it's not as simple of a matter to give mundane predictions in a very specific manner, like everybody's going to have a travel problem, right? Unless you know the person's horoscope. Okay, so let's see some other questions that we've got here. And so for any questions that you might have as it pertains to your own particular horoscope, again, 10% discount on all astrological services. Give the astrologer some love by scheduling a consultation with him, right? And using the discount code May. And that's me giving the love back by giving you a discount. There we go. Are Rahu and Ketu the north and south node? Rahu is the north node, Ketu is the south node. Is one kind of astrology more accurate? That depends on whether you're asking a Western astrologer or a Vedic astrologer. I would say Vedic astrology is more accurate. Okay. Let's see what else we've got. What do I think about doing important things on eclipse days? Well, eclipse days will generally tend to bring like a lot of scattered and chaotic energy, right? Because what's happening is you've got the sun, which represents the Atman or the soul, and you've got the moon, which represents our perception, our consciousness, our manas, our sensory mind, either opposing each other in the sky as they're coming into contact with the nodes on a lunar eclipse, or conjuncting each other on a new moon as they're in close proximity to one of the nodes on a solar eclipse. And so it creates some disruption in one's connection with one's own soul. That's a simple way to put it. But what's happening is it tends to disrupt the mind, but it does it for a very specific evolutionary manner because it wants to change or alter your path in some way for the next 6 months. And so that's, without going into specifics about a specific eclipse, that's probably as clear information as I can give you about that. And please feel free to ask some questions. So other questions. So I'm not going to go into the question about Viparita Raja Yoga because a lot of my answer to that, pardon the noise going by, would relate to looking at things like Ishta and Kashta, Shubha and Ashubha Phala, as well as Digbala. So I can't really give you an accurate answer to that in the framework of this. It depends on personal situations within the horoscope in terms of how that's going to behave. I think a good thing for people to get beyond, though, is the concept of malefic planets, benefic planets. The actual Sanskrit word connected to these is krura for malefic, which krura actually means harsh or cruel, and somya or gentle for benefic. So planets can bring good things into your life only in a harsh manner. Okay. And planets can bring very difficult things into your life by you being lazy in a very gentle manner. So malefic doesn't, in terms of how it's represented, it's not always bad. Okay. And people, I think, need to try to get beyond this particular concept with astrology and stop thinking of planets as cosmic baddies and cosmic goodies, because it doesn't really work that way. Okay. Bhavat Bhavam concept. Good question. So Bhavat Bhavam basically relates to the concept of if you're wanting to understand one particular house, you can look at it more fully by looking at the house from the house. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say, for instance, we're talking about the fifth house, right? Not only does the fifth house create fifth house results, but the fifth from the fifth can equally yield fifth house results, which is the ninth. Okay, as can the ninth from the ninth yield ninth house results, which is the fifth. Okay, so another thing too, like if you're looking at things creating success, which is a 10th house concept, you can also look at the 10th from the 10th. It can yield similar results. It can yield success results too, because it's the 10th from the 10th. That's how Bhavat Bhavam works. It's a very important concept, and it's very important to learn all your Bhavat Bhavam positions. Like the first from the first is obviously the first. Second from the second is the third. Third from the third is the fifth. Fourth from the fourth is the seventh. Fifth from the fifth is the ninth. Sixth from the sixth is the 11th. Seventh from the seventh is the first. Eighth from the eighth is the third. Ninth from the ninth is the fifth. 10th from the 10th is the seventh. The 11th from the 11th is the ninth. And the 12th from the 12th is the 11th. It's good to learn all those by heart. Rahu and Ketu, in answer to the Ashtaka Varga question, Rahu and Ketu are not embodied planets, okay? And so I don't mind saying it again, but I've probably said that a few times over the course of this video. Rahu and Ketu are not embodied planets, so they don't have dignity other than the dignity of their dispositors or planets that they join. They don't have exaltation or debilitation, and other than the exaltation or debilitation of their dispositors or planets that they join. And in addition to that, they don't have planetary aspects. Okay, they have Rashi aspects though, and equally they don't get Ashtaka Varga scores. All right, that's because they're not embodied planets. All right, just a reminder again, all astrological services discounted 10% for the next 3 hours or so until 10:30 p.m. London time. Here is the link to the page where you can view my vast range of services and schedule something. Here is the discount code that you need to take advantage of that discount, which is mid-May. I think somebody's asking why someone considers, right. I'm going to answer your Rahu Atmakaraka question here in just a moment. Also as well, 15% discount on next year's Nakshatra Technique webinar course. If you register before the 19th of June at this link, and you need to use the discount code Nakshatra, which I'm going to put into the window here. Okay. In addition to that, 15% discount on the Level 2 Jaimini webinar course, which also starts next year. Don't worry, you can take the Level 1 video course if you haven't taken that already. And you can register for Level 2 even if you haven't taken Level 1 yet, because you can take the Level 1 video course later on this year. Here's the discount code to get 15% off course registration for that. And again, either by or in full for any of these. And my Lajatati Avasta course, which has a 10% discount because it starts in August. So it's not too long from now. Okay. And in order to get a 10% discount on that particular course, you need to use the discount code that I'm going to put in the window here, which is early. Okay. So somebody was asking about Rahu as the Atmakaraka. Okay. So again, why some people don't see Rahu as Atmakaraka. Again, the answer boils down to Rahu and Ketu not being embodied planets. Like you can see Saturn in the sky, right? You can see the sun in the sky. You can see Saturn in the sky with the telescope. That's probably what best way to understand that. You can see Venus. You can see Mercury, right? You can see Saturn sometimes without a telescope too. It's just very faint. But all those planets are embodied planets. Rahu and Ketu are not embodied. They're just points that create eclipses. They're very powerful, but they're not embodied. So if you want a planet to represent a person, including yourself, it's best if it's an embodied factor. After all, you're embodied, aren't you? Right? Okay. So if you're embodied, it's important to have a planet that's embodied to represent you. Some people consider it because they like to work with the 8 Karaka scheme in terms of Jaimini astrology, but they don't really understand why Jaimini was giving 8 Karakas. And in actuality, it's not really, in my opinion, accurate to use Rahu as a karaka, even in the 8 karaka scheme. You're better to use the ascendant, okay? Because that is an actual, it's not a planet, but it is an embodied point that relates to your own specific embodiment. Okay. Okay, so let's see what we've got in the questions section, if I can say questions section. It's a tongue twister. What if your first lord is in the opposite house? Does it make the native's purpose to serve? Not necessarily. An important thing to understand about the lord of a house is it represents that person in action. Okay, so the first lord in the 7th house, that person is very active in relationships. So their focus is very deeply going to be on other people, right? Not necessarily to serve, depends upon the person, right? They might instead want to use other people rather than to serve other people. So it really depends on the individual. Okay. Let's see. Somebody is asking, they checked my site for services. Thanks for saying I have nice services. Do I also write an annual report with a few personal questions that can be answered? I don't do any written reports. Here is why. Number one, I type all day long and I'm very prone to carpal tunnel syndrome, right? Number two, the amount I would have to charge for an annual report would be so hefty that it would be detrimental to a person actually wanting to pay for it because it would require a lot of typing for several pages, right? And we would have to be looking at every single month for you if we're doing an annual report, if that's the angle you're taking it from. And I use several techniques per question that a person asks. So in order to do something like that, the price tag would have to be very high. And most people are not interested in paying for something like that. Right. So generally, I tend to offer person to person consultations, or pre recorded video consultations is also an option. If it's just the fact that you don't want to be in a position of having to engage, right? You can purchase a pre recorded consultation and get it recorded to video. And so, again, if you're interested in scheduling an astrological service with me and getting a discount for the next couple of hours, here is the link where you can do just that and get a 10% discount. And I will give you the discount code again, as well as, sorry, I just said I'd give you the discount code. Here we go. Okay. Oops, that didn't go through, or did it? Maybe it did. Yeah, it did. Good. All right, so let's see what other questions we might have here. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm quiet, everybody. I'm just reading over a few questions that people have. Okay. I got about another 10 or 15 minutes before I have to move on. All right, so somebody's saying, what is one to expect in the last phase of Rahu Dasha, last 3 months, Rahu being in conjunction with Mars in Libra in the 6th house for Kritika Lagna? Really, this is a matter of looking at your own personal horoscope, because there's more that goes on in the horoscope than just the Rashi chart. And that's important to understand. If you have Rahu conjuncting Mars, there can be some things going on with power struggles with other individuals, right? It's just to teach you how to use your will appropriately, right? How not to suppress your will so that it ends up boiling over and then becomes overly expressive. It's about finding balance with that. But that's just a vast generalization. Again, it'd probably be best if you scheduled a consultation if you wanted to find that out. Okay. Lord of the first house in the 12th. Well, if the Lord of the first house is in the 12th, then the person's focus can be on liberation, or they might like to have a lot of seclusion. Or if the 12th Lord is in the first, the person may be very deeply focused on the past, right? All sorts of different things. How is Saturn in Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra? It depends on Saturn's degree, planets that it's joining, Saturn's Shadbala, Saturn's Digbala, and so many other things. But that is a good question that you're asking, and something that a lot of people are confused about, which is that planets do not necessarily get stronger by being in a nakshatra they're associated with. Okay? Because number one, good thing to understand, first of all, nakshatras are different than rashis. Okay. Number two, the planetary associations with the nakshatras is just there for creating Vimshotri dasha, right? Different dashas have different planetary associations with the nakshatras. That being the case, the planet that's connected to a nakshatra, its well-being does have a say in how that nakshatra plays itself out, because it kind of functions as a messenger for that nakshatra, if you follow. But it's not as simple of a fact of the planet will be very good just because it's associated with that nakshatra. And it's not going to be something I can answer by just knowing that K2's with Saturn. I need to know the degree of Saturn. I need to know so many different things that answering that just based upon things that you might want to type in the chat window, it's not going to be accurate. And then I tell you, and you go running away with that information. Suddenly it doesn't work out for you, and you blame the astrologer for giving you an inaccurate prediction, when instead the astrologer got incomplete information because you wanted a prediction that was simply based on one or two factors in your horoscope, right? So it's important to take a conscious approach to astrology and to astrologers, which is not a criticism. A lot of people don't know this. We really need to see your entire horoscope in order to give you very accurate predictions. Okay. So let's see any other questions that we might have here. Really, the reason I don't give predictions based on things like that is because it's a disservice to you. And aside from the fact that, this is something I do as a job and that I feed my family with. Okay. All right, so let's see some other questions. By the way, again, if you do want to schedule a consultation with me, it's a good day to take advantage of that because there's a 10% discount. Sorry, I just clicked the button that unmuted myself in terms of the video. There's the link to the services page. And here is your discount code if you want to take advantage of that. Okay. Pardon me, probably another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to have to move on. So some of your questions, please understand I may not answer it because, again, it's needing to have more complete information. Do I charge? Somebody's asking if I charge for birth time correcting. Yes, I do, and it depends on the source of the birth time, right? Like if it's from a birth certificate, that's generally going to be closer to the birth time, so that's a cheaper assessment. If it is from your mother's memory, then there's more potential for it to be further off. If it's from your father's memory or another distant relative, there's even a greater potential for it to be off. And if it's just, you don't know at all, then it becomes even more expensive. I would say if you've got it from a birth certificate, you're looking at about, I would say, roughly $140 to do that, right? And if that's something that you want, it's not offered on my services page, so you just have to email me directly, but I would offer you a 10% discount on that tonight too, if you wanted to go ahead and purchase that. If someone has their Saturn retrograde, how does it affect if Saturn is in the Atmakaraka? Amachakaraka, sorry, I thought you said Atmakaraka. Well, first of all, is understanding what the Amachakaraka is. Amachakaraka represents friends. It equally represents advisors. Like if you're looking at a lawsuit, you want to look at the Amachakaraka because it's going to represent the lawyer. In addition to that, it can also represent one's resources, like finances, enough finances to pay the bills and things like that. So if it's retrograde, the person tends to, what's the best way to say it? If Saturn is retrograde, then there can be more internalization of resources. So let me explain that. Like, so if we're looking at finances, well, the one begins to become more internally disciplined in order to create finances in their life. Things crystallize in their life by them becoming more internally focused rather than externally focused. The same with friends. They may be somewhat withdrawn with their friends, but equally comfortable in their friends' presence, right? So good to not understand. Oh, and you meant Atmakarika. Okay. Sorry. So Atmakarika, well, the person can be very, um, they approach life in a manner where they crystallize life's processes in a very internal manner. Retrograde planets tend to be more internal rather than external. It's not that they're bad because they're actually very powerful and can be very positive, but their processes are more internal, which is why it begins to feel like during retrograde periods, like everything's getting disrupted because it's more of an internal process. Like with Mercury retrograde, you're meant to be more reflective rather than otherwise. Okay. Okay. So, why did the creators of Vedic astrology pick only 27 stars? Well, first of all, it's 27 sections of the sky related to specific clusters of stars, is the best way to understand that. Um, and in terms of understanding that, a lot of things in Vedic astrology have a numerical significance. Okay. So if you take 27 nakshatras and you understand four padas for each nakshatra, then basically each pada of a nakshatra determines a specific position in the Navamsha chart. And you take 27 and you multiply it by four, and you have the number 108, which is a very sacred number. Okay, so there's a harmony to the Vedic system. Profession of judge is represented by which planet? It can be a lot of different planets. To be quite honest, it depends on the person's approach to law. But just to give you some general ideas, I would say Mercury, Saturn, potentially Venus. In addition to that, nakshatras factor into the equation. Some other things that you would need to take into consideration if it is a local high court judge and a political position like an elected judge, then you might be looking more at the sun, right, being involved in the equation somehow, or that Saturn being in Leo or Mercury in Leo, so many different things. Can I talk about the most important indicator for a person to become an astrologer? There are a few different ones. Venus is the Atmakarika, can help with that. So can Jupiter is the Atmakarika. Mercury mixed into the equation strengthens things a little bit more. If you understand a little bit about Jaimini astrology, if your Atmakarika in the Navamsha chart is in an even sign, so what's the even sign? Taurus, Cancer, uh, Virgo, I think you follow the second, fourth, sixth signs, etc. If it's in an even sign, you want to count backwards in terms of what I'm going to tell you next. If it's in an odd sign like Aries, Gemini, Leo, etc., you read the normal way, which is forwards. But if you have K2 in either the first, second, third, or fifth in the Navamsha, or to a lesser extent the Rashi, or to another extent the Dashamsha chart, then that can make a person devoted to astronomical calculations, which in general means an astrologer. Okay. Okay, so let's see what else we've got going on here. By the way, if you want to schedule a consultation with me, still a couple of hours to take advantage of that through my astrological services page at a 10% discount at the link, which I'm going to enter next. Okay. And the discount code for that, which is MIDMAY, mid-May. There we go. So let's read some other questions. And I've got about another 6 or 7 minutes, and then I'll remind everybody about the courses at the end. Right. So here's the best way to understand karakas versus the houses they're associated with, because the Atmakarika can very deeply be connected to a person's career, as you're suggesting, right? So the karaka for a particular factor in life is the producer of that particular area. For instance, the Dara Karaka kind of gives like the cosmic blueprint for your spouse or your relationships, right? So then once you have that cosmic blueprint, then the specific house, like the 10th house for career, or even the first house that equally has some importance in career, that is on a level the created career or the created path that came from the Atmakaraka. Then, when you have the Lord of that 10th, the house that that 10th Lord is placed in is going to be the area of action for that career. That's another way of understanding it. Okay. And then where you have the pada for the 10th house, which you may not understand. I don't mean nakshatra pada. I mean something called Jaimini padas. That is going to be on a certain level the eventuality of career, right? So all of these things you can find out about your own horoscope if you want to schedule a consultation with me. Let's just read a few more questions here. Okay, I may be quiet for a moment because I'm trying to find a good one. Somebody's asking a good question. How can a professional astrologer not fall into the trap of money versus the purity of giving a genuine consultation with good intention to a person whose chart is being read? If they understand the fact that if they're very money oriented in the first place, if they understand the concept that the person's chart that they're looking at, that person's going to appreciate honesty and accuracy and more likely to come back to you. If your sole focus is money, then it serves you to give a pure good reading as well, right? In addition to that, let's read that question again. um, there is a lot of that in the astrological profession where an astrologer will try to fit a lot of clients in so that they can make a lot of money off of several different clients, and therefore will just give very quick readings. I don't do that approach myself. I like to look at things very deeply using several different techniques. And I know you weren't really kind of asking that in association with me, but I think it's all a matter of why you're getting into astrology. If you're getting into astrology purely for the sake of money, you're kind of going into the wrong profession, because it's not like something that, even though you can do fairly decently with it, it's not something that's necessarily going to make you rich and famous. Okay. All right. So let's see any other questions people might have. Yeah, a planet. Somebody's asking about career delay or kind of life interrupted relating to career and marriage. If the Nati Karaka is connected to those career factors or relationship factors, or if the sixth is related to that, or the eighth is related to that, or the 12th, so many different things. Okay. So again, thanks everybody for appearing here tonight. Again, several different courses which you are open to a discount on, two of which start in 2020, but because I'm opening them up to registration very early, you get a 15% discount on these. The first of these is my Nakshatra Technique webinar course. I've just placed a link to that course in the comments section, and you need to use the discount code Nakshatra at the link below. In addition to that, the J-Mini Level 2 webinar course, which starts next year, but you can take the Level 1 video course starting this autumn to brush up and be prepared for the Level 2 course. And if you register for the Level 2 course, you get the Level 1 video course at a discount. And the link to that is in the window. And here is the discount code for the J-Mini course. In addition to that, my Lajatati Avastas course, which starts in August, that's just a couple of months away. It's a 44-week course. You get a 10% discount on that at this link. And you need to use the discount code EARLY, which is all uppercase letters, which is here. Okay. And again, until 10 p.m. London time tonight, sorry, 10:30 p.m. London time tonight. I keep forgetting that I changed it for everybody. you can get a 10% discount on an astrological service booked through my website at this link if you enter the discount code mid-May, all uppercase letters, which I'll put in the window now. Okay. All right. So it's just somebody saying do some free readings for followers. The reason I don't do free readings is I need your entire horoscope. And think about it. Do you really want to put your entire horoscope in front of everybody when it's a private factor? It's best not to share your personal horoscope with everybody, I feel, right? That's another reason. Okay. But thanks everybody for watching, and I'll try to be back as soon as possible. Until then, though, please, as always, try to take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.